What were some of the worst experiences you have had while working in the fast food industry? I was 16, working frontline, cashier. A man walked up and, instead of ordering, he started talking about how his daughter was in vet school. I smile, nod, say something like, "That sounds nice." He then responds with, "Yes, she did something with her life, unlike you." Edit, to those questioning the authenticity of this, just read through the comments, they're rife with people who have experienced similar shittiness. Not fast food, but while I was working at a chain grocery store, a middle-aged woman was pushing her cart through the parking lot, when she lost control of it going downhill, and it slammed into someone's car whilst they were in it. She attempted to blame me, who had been a few feet away from her, for pushing her cart full of groceries into the car when the person went to confront her. Luckily the person saw through her blaming it on me, and proceeded to ask her again if the cart full of groceries were hers. When she repeated it wasn't, he shrugged and said guess it's no one's, then proceeding to load all of the groceries from her cart, and putting it in his car, before leaving, all while she had to stand there and say nothing. If that car owner was an idiot, it could have turned real different for me. I've had a customer come up to me in the middle of the mall off shift, and tell me about how I forgot his sauce for his burritos. Now that's some dedication right there. I don't know if any of you remember the grilled onion cheddar burger that McDonald's used to serve, but we used to keep the grilled onions in a heated tray in the grill area. One of the guys I used to work with at McDonald's came in one day all pissy. He used to chew tobacco while working, which was gross enough as it is. Well, he got caught on camera spitting his chew into the grilled onion tray. I think he got away with doing that almost his whole shift until someone saw the tape in the manager's office. He was fired on the spot. I'm not sure what they did about the burgers that went out served like that. I went to hand a drink out the drive-through window and the asshats in the car threw a large blue Powerade all over me. My manager said if I went home early due to being soaked, I was fired. I woulda hugged the manager, and said don't go home now, Kay? And walked out. I had a very short stint working at the Golden Arches. The soda machine was literally never cleaned. On my first closing shift I went to take the nozzles off the soda machine and there was mold literally caked around the inside of each nozzle. The manager told me that the constant stream of soda kept the machine clean so it wasn't necessary to remove the nozzles. Bullshit. I can't drink soda from McDonald's or any other fast food place anymore. Edit, I wanna thank everybody who commented reassuring me and I'm sure a few other Redditors that some places actually care about health and safety. Assumed safe places, Panera Bread, Panda Express, Steak and Shake, Jimmy John's, In-N-Out, Chick-fil-A. I saw dude clean a bathroom floor covered in logs of shit on his first day, first job, for 2 months worth of free Taco Bell anytime he wanted. Still unsure if he won this deal. A co-worker dumped mop water through the ice cream machine in an attempt to clean it. Like, the part where the soft serve goes to freeze. Edit, guys, please stop making jokes about the McDonald's ice cream machine always being down. There are plenty. I had a guy overdose and die in the bathroom while managing at Carl's Jr. I was told to close the lobby but keep the drive-through open. It was weird pooping where a dude died. We had a notice board that customers could pin their adverts on. One week we took everyone's stuff off so that we could use it as a memorial for our co-worker who had just recently passed away. One customer came in and started going ballistic at us that we took her advert down. She didn't care that it was a memorial. My co-worker ended up crying out the back for the rest of her shift. Edit, to clarify, it wasn't the co-worker who passed that was crying out back. Worked a Burger King a while back that stayed open till 2 AM. One manager was actually a reasonable person, and was an older lady that clearly paid her dues to the company. At my store we only had 2 closers, so from about 10 o'clock to 3 a.m. it was just me and a manager. The night I put my 2 weeks in, she is just grumpy and teary-eyed looking at her phone, and she's not usually the manager who does that. Her oldest was going into a complicated premature labor and nobody could help her. No area manager wanted to come out that late. Corporate didn't care because that was part of the job. She was crying all night until we closed. Busted out of there 10 minutes after closing time. We broke so many rules. Frick corporate people who think you have to take your time away from your children for shitty burgers. Does Starbucks count? A woman demanded room, space for sugar, cream, in her latte, then burst back in line demanding more room, then berated me for throwing out the ones she returned for damaging the environment, because I didn't resell them, apparently, then demanded less room. Our manager ended up telling her she just had to leave because the line became enormous. I worked at McDonald's part-time while I was in college. One day, I was working the drive-thru, and this guy ordered a lot of drinks. One of them was low on soda syrup, but instead of just telling me about it like a rational person so I could give him a replacement drink, he threw the extra large drink at me. Of course the lid came off and I was soaking wet. The manager, who was actually pretty good as far as fast food managers go, saw this happen. He took off running into the parking lot, flagged down the driver before he could leave, and told him to never come back. Then he came back in, found me a dry uniform shirt, and let me have a few minutes on the clock to sit in the break room and calm down. Good manager. Money was going missing, and as the newest employee I was suspect number 1. My boss was a great guy and my co-workers were very loyal to him, so I started getting death threats. Eventually it was confirmed to be a different worker and everyone apologized. Still sucked though. Death threats? That doesn't sound like a good place to work. I was working the drive-thru and gave the lady her food. Not 15 feet down the road from the window is a trash can and a sign that says please do not litter. You can probably guess what happened next. She throws her wrapper right in front of me, and as she drives off I say, "Are you kidding me?" Next thing I know I hear a screech of tires and hear a car door slam. She walks back to the window and starts to curse me out saying, "What the frick did you say? You throw your shit on the ground too." Don't bullshit me. I just point to the sign and say, "No, I throw my trash in the trash can like a normal human being. Have a nice freaking day," and shut and lock the window. Luckily my manager was pretty chill and didn't care, and I just went about the rest of my day. Having a manager who will back you up is so nice. It made my experience working in fast food 10x better. I used to work in a bakery in a grocery store. I was the cake decorator, and the cakes were in containers and in a cooler that customers could just take and go to pay. While 2 kids, 6 and 8 years oldish, ran over and started throwing the cakes on the ground, like happy birthday to the ground style. They were on their 6th cake before I could reach them and took the cakes in their hands. Their mom came over, sight, and just turned the kids around and started to the produce section like nothing happens. No apology, no acknowledgement, no words to the kids about the $1.100s they just cost us and my time. Did you make her pay? I would. Worked at MCD's as my first job at 15. Worst thing I probably saw was one of the guys working the fryer tripped, and when he reached out to stop himself falling, he ended up with half of his hand in the fry oil. I think the entire store heard my "oh shit." Was 15 and working for the Golden Arches in a big 2-story, city location. An elderly lady came in to use the upstairs toilet, and when she came back down, she had poop caked all over her hands, which she dragged down the banister she used to steady herself on down the stairs. She then went and sat at a table for a moment before leaving. She clearly had dementia, although I didn't recognize that at the time. I was sent to the bathroom to investigate the damage, and it was a literal shit show. I reported back to my manager, who told me I had to clean it all up. No thanks. I quit on the spot. I was not cleaning up shit for $4.85 an hour. That is hazmat cleanup, which is not in any minimum wages job description. Not fast food but at a restaurant. I was the waiter for a nice, older couple and they ordered salads as an appetizer before their meal. After a couple minutes, the man calls me over and shows me the tip of a broken drill bit he bit into from his salad. Expecting a lawsuit, my heart skipped a beat and went into adrenaline mode as I quickly got the manager. Tom came over white-faced and apologized profusely while offering a few gift cards and comping, free, their meal. Shockingly, the couple didn't threaten or get irate. Found out later that Tom had been drilling near the prep line in the kitchen earlier in the day to fix something and saw the drill bit snap but couldn't find the tip. The couple even tipped me well. You dodged a bullet, Tom. Naked people while delivering pizza. Sounds sexy in the pornos, tends to be horrifying in real life. My first job was delivering pizzas. Some dude about my age at the time, 19, would order delivery near the end of store hours. He'd answer the door in a Home Depot apron rolled up just enough to show his dong. But I didn't mind cause he tipped good and also gave me some cold beers to enjoy after work. It was funny more than anything. He just trying to advertise his selection of hardwood. Someone said, give me some of those fresh baked cookies, I can smell you baking them. When, first of all, we just reheat frozen ones, and secondly, we just put one in the microwave for a guest who asked us to. When we told him this, he started to yell, then walked behind the counter to go check. I called my manager and he started to push her around to go check, screaming, I want my fresh cookies. He then tried to hit on one of our team members in the back, then took off his shirt and screamed when she asked him to go away. We had to escort him out after calling the police. Was this person bright blue, hairy and with a gruff voice? I was a waitress at a pizza place and an older man and woman flagged me over and they just start yelling at me, going on and on that they found metal in their food. And she's showing me and yelling and I am trying to apologize and saying, we can make you a new pizza, I am sorry, I have no idea where it came from. After several minutes of yelling, the man gets quiet and he goes, oh, I lost a filling. Then they tried to be all nice and laugh it off. I just wanted to say screw you for treating me like crap. I worked night shift at a Krispy Kreme. It was always just me and the manager. She never helped. She'd just go in the office to do paperwork, and leave me alone for 8 hours to make everything. Because I knew she'd leave me alone, I'd take the trash out multiple times a night for a smoke sesh. Well, one night I come back in from my smoke sesh, and notice the conveyor for the OG glazed is starting to rattle pretty badly. There's several things you needed to turn off prior to stopping the conveyor: glaze fountain, heating elements, ejector thingy. So I turn all of those off, but for some reason the conveyor is in a weird dieseling state, where it continues to run, but is disconnected from power. I start to panic, the conveyor keeps going, and continues to get more and more loud. I start pounding on the manager's office door, but she won't answer. Shit's starting to fall apart, and my baked ass can't handle this. I finally shoulder charge her office door down, screaming WTF? I need help. But she isn't in there. Look on her security screens, her car isn't even in the parking lot. Once I realized that bitch was gone, the conveyor finally went. The motor took out one end of the conveyor line, and gallons of 100% pork lard fryer oil covered the floor of the entire kitchen. I called the off-duty manager, told him what just happened, said frick this, I'm done, and just left. One of our managers started choking a co-worker in the drive-through window, full view of customers. Said co-worker was supposed to be my relief, but she was 20 minutes late and apparently the two of them exchanged words immediately before the incident. That manager had a history of aggressive behavior. She tried to tackle me, literally, on my first day. I'm pretty sure only being short and hippie and thus a low center of gravity saved me from going into the fryer, and was immediately fired. They didn't press charges though, I'm not sure why, and the fired manager called everyone who worked there to cry about how it was all our fault for not supporting her and getting her fired. She was hired to manage Burger King like 2 weeks later. Edit, hippie like carrying my weight in my hips. Second edit, because I can't write. She tackled me on my first day and I didn't complain because I was learning how to person again after being really depressed. The choking incident happened like 4 months later. I worked at a movie theater one semester in high school. I was scheduled as a porter, which basically means I was responsible for sweeping up the theaters between shows and throwing out trash. When I got to the back row, there was a cup in the cup holder without the top on. It turned out to be filled with piss. How long ago was this? I went on a date with a girl to see Fast 6 and to my horror, she did this. Took a piss in a cup and left it in the top row of the mostly empty theater. She sounds like a real classy broad. Definitely a keeper. I was a car hop at Sonic Drive-In through most of high school. I was the only guy that was able to use the roller skates. An extremely creepy old man in a vehicle that might as well have been in a scrapyard called me back to his car after I started to go back inside. Gave me a $15 tip because that ass needed a second look. I worked at a Cane's Chicken around graduation season. He had massive catering orders, like 600 chicken fingers, 500 pieces of toast, 250 coleslaws. Multiple orders like this on the same day while also being our busiest day of the week. We were going nuts, even the owner was there to help. Of course, this is the day corporate decides to make a surprise visit. The owner got reamed, even though we were consistently scoring as one of the top locations on a regular day, so he reamed the manager, who then reamed us. So we're already stressed out and tired, and now we're being shouted at by irate customers, the owner, and our manager. I'm surprised we didn't all quit that day. God bless you for staying strong and providing some crispy tendies to those hungry souls. I had a rough-looking guy in a beat-up truck try to use 1-year-old coupons. I refused to take them. That was a mistake. He held up the drive-thru and screamed at me, including "Smarten up, son, or you're going nowhere in life." Made me feel like shit until I realized that someone like that who is screaming those things at a 15-year running the drive-thru, did not go anywhere in life. At McDonald's, of course, I was a first assistant manager. We had a kid who was just promoted to shift manager. He was a very good employee and he knew his stuff. We had high hopes for him. His very first shift, 5 minutes into the shift, he does a walkthrough of the dining room. He asks a girl who was 7 months pregnant to change a trash bag and she tells him no, that she can't do it. He walks to the back of the store, gets the trash masher, basically a mop handle with steel plates on the end to compact the trash, walks to the garbage bag and mashes the trash. He then takes the trash masher and knocks the girl out with it, screaming, "I'm the freaking boss and everyone better do whatever I tell them," and continued to yell at everyone about how she needs to be fired for insubordination and no one else better ever test him. He was arrested in the store and was trying to argue with the police officers that he was in the right. The girl had a major concussion but she and the baby were okay. This is the smallest amount of power I've ever seen go to someone's head. Not fast food, but a gas station. My co-worker decided to clean the coffee machines. Normally, we have a special cleaner, but she used bleach. Just filled them with bleach, emptied them, and rinsed them out. If I hadn't have noticed the bleach smell from the morning coffee, we might have had somebody drink bleach/bean water. When I worked at Subway, this guy asked for sriracha sauce on his sandwich. I put the regular amount on, then he asks for more. I put more on. He asks for more. Eventually, he's screaming at me to put more sriracha on the sandwich, to which I end up emptying out the entire bottle on it. He's still not satisfied, so I have to get more. 1/2 bottle of sriracha later, he says it's enough. Still remember him to this day. Which he then promptly took home and refilled his own bottle. Not me, but my mother worked at a restaurant with a chef that wouldn't remake an order after the customer found various fingernails in it. Edit, well this blew up, I'll use this opportunity to say don't do fingernails kids. Maybe she shouldn't have ordered fingernails then. I used to work at Sonic. On rainy days, especially when it was pouring, people would intentionally park across the lot, the spare spots that weren't covered by their famous awning, and make the car hops walk the food out there to them. We'd be standing there outside their car window with the food on a tray, waiting for them to roll down their window. They'd take their sweet time getting out their cards or cash while we were getting drenched. All the while, there were plenty of open spots under the awning, closer to the restaurant and out of the rain. By the time they took their food from us, they would demand the meal for free since it was wet. Mind you, not wet enough to give back the food, just wet enough to demand a full refund while they shoved the offending fries in their mouth. Those people also never tipped. Also we had people who would make us go back inside and replace their 44 ounces drink 4 and 5 times, even when you insisted it was the right drink. This ain't diet. Sir, I poured this drink myself, I can assure you it's diet. I want you to go back in there and do it again, and I better not have to send this back a third time. Edit, don't feel bad if you didn't know until now that Sonic employees get tip wage. A ton of people have no idea, so they ever tip. That's a known thing when you work there, or at least at my location. Also you can't tip on a car there, so even if you wanted to, there wouldn't be a way to do it. And cards were 50% of our business. Now they're probably even more. I used to work at a fast food chicken place. For anonymity reasons I'd rather not say which one, but I'm sure most can guess. One night I was working with my coworker, we'll call him Andrew. Andrew was a big dude working in a small kitchen, kind of cramped, hard for him to move around. That night he went into the chicken cooler and ended up slipping on some chicken grease. His foot flung forward and him backwards into the wall. But the wall had metal paneling on it. One of these panels was bent on the corner, so when he slipped he subsequently sliced his back from the bottom of his back up to beyond his shoulder blade by landing on this bent corner. He screams out in pain. I run over and ask what's wrong since I didn't witness it. My back dude, it hurts so freaking bad. I see blood staining the back of his shirt and scream to my manager to call an ambulance. I rush over and sit him up and told him I was going to take his shirt off so I can put pressure on the wound. When I lifted the shirt, holy shit. Imagine taking a hunk of meat and slicing it with one, even slice using a katana. That's what it looked like. I kind of automatically went holy frick, and he asked if it was bad. I told him nah. Lol, at this point my manager, instead of calling an ambulance, calls the district freaking manager, and instead of the district manager yelling at him to call an ambulance, he instead wants an entire description of what's going on. My other manager and my store manager begin to argue about this, while I'm asking my other co-workers to find a first aid kit. My company worker finds one, and I swear on my life I am not making this up. One small, partially used roll of gauze, a bottle of rubbing alcohol, and a set of third-grader band-aids. That's it. That right there should have put the store completely out of business. I ask for some towels, anything I can use to put pressure on the wound. All they can bring me that was clean was some flipping paper towels. I didn't want them to stick to him, so I had to kinda hover over the wound with it, lightly tapping it in some places and putting pressure on others. I'm no medical expert, but I felt it was better than doing nothing. 20 minutes goes by. During those 20 minutes someone else called an ambulance and eventually they came. Then they had trouble getting the stretcher into the flipping place. We had to move all sorts of shit around. Finally, after about a 45-minute to an hour ordeal, he is on the stretcher in the ambulance. If I recall correctly, he required 12 stitches and a few staples. But this was years ago, I don't remember exactly what he had done. Unfortunately, he couldn't sue, or at least he didn't, for a few reasons. One, he said that since he wasn't wearing the proper shoes it wouldn't have went anywhere in court, and two, he's just too nice of a guy. Would rather get back to work than anything. Oh, and the real gross part is all of that chicken should have been tossed, only half of it was. He didn't even file a workers' compensation claim. Even if he wasn't wearing the proper shoes, His accident was clearly caused by work, which means he would have been covered.